Jai Hind students. Today we are going to learn a new chapter from your main course text, The Bond of Love by Kenneth Anderson. So let's have a look at the profile of the author, Kenneth Anderson. Kenneth Douglas Stewart Anderson was an Indian-born British writer and hunter who wrote books about his adventures in the jungles of South India. He was born on 8 March 1910 in Bangalore and died on 30th August 1974 in Bangalore. So that's all about the author.
Here is the summary of the story, The Bond of Love by Kenneth Anderson. The author got their pet sloth bear Bruno by accident. 2 years before, he and his companions were traveling through the sugarcane fields of Mysore. They saw people driving away wild pigs. Suddenly, a big sloth bear came charging out on the field. One of his friends panicked and shot the bear. As they watched the animal fall, they saw something move on its back. To everyone's surprise, they realized that it was a baby sloth bear. The little bear cried pitifully over his mother's body. When it started running, the narrator chased after the baby and was able to capture it. He put it in a bag and presented it to his wife. His wife was delighted. She put a colored ribbon around his neck and called him Bruno. Bruno drank milk from a bottle. Then he started eating and drinking everything from porridge to curry to pudding to tea and buttermilk. Bruno became attached to their Alsatian dogs and the tenants' children. As a kid, he spent his time in playing and running around the kitchen and sleeping in the author's bed. One day, Bruno had an accident. The author had put down poison for rats in his library. Bruno entered the library and ate some of the poison. The author rushed Bruno to the veterinary doctor, and the doctor found an antidote for him. Bruno was cured, and the narrator took him back home. Bruno had by now grown many times in size, but he was sweet, mischievous, and playful. He was fond of everyone, but he shared a special bond with the author's wife. His wife changed Bruno's name to Baba, which means a small boy. She taught him tricks like boxing, holding a stick as a gun, and holding a stump of wood as his baby. Baba was growing into a fearsome creature. The tenants' children feared him now, and he was kept chained most of the time. The author's friends advised them to send Baba to the zoo. The narrator and his son agreed with them. Though his wife protested, they managed to convince her to send Baba to a zoo in Mysore. Though the narrator missed Baba, he was relieved that he was gone. His wife, however, was inconsolable. She wept and refused meals. She wrote letters to the curator of the zoo asking after Baba. It seemed that Baba was not doing well either. The curators replied that he was refusing the food too. They asked their friends visiting Mysore to check on Baba. They also reported that Baba had grown thin and unhealthy now. Finally, his wife convinced the author to go and see Baba. Their friends thought that Baba would not recognize them and advised them to be prepared. But Baba howled with happiness when he saw the author's wife. The wife ran up to Baba and patted him through the bars. She would not leave the cage. She stayed by Baba's cage and fed him food. When the closing time came in the evening, Baba and his wife cried bitterly. The wife tearfully asked the curator to take Baba back with her to her home. The curator told her to get permission from the superintendent who lived in Bangalore. So the author and his wife went to Bangalore. The superintendent was a kind hearted man and agreed to let Baba go home with them. His wife was overjoyed. The author engaged coolies to create a special island in the compound. A stream of water surrounded the island and separated it from the main building. A wooden box was installed for Baba to sleep in. Then Baba was released into his new home. His wife and Baba were both delighted at the reunion. What the narrator is trying to say here is that love and affection do not only belong to human beings. Baba, with his affection, memory, proved that he is as sensitive as any human being can be. The narrator also emphasizes on the strength of the bond of love between his wife and the sloth bear Baba. Thank you.
Dear children, hope you got a better idea about this chapter from the animated video. Now we can learn this chapter in detail. Bond of Love is written by Kenneth Anderson. The story highlights the emotional bond between human beings and animals. The narrator's wife shares affection with a wild bear and they get attached to each other, shows that animals have feelings and reciprocate to love with warmth and affection. The narrator's wife got a pet sloth bear as a pet due to an accident. 2 years before the time when this story was written, the narrator and his friends were passing through sugarcane field near Mysore. Farmers were driving out pigs from their fields by shooting at them. As it was apparently over, suddenly a sloth bear appeared from the fields. It was breathing heavily due to running and the excessive heat. The narrator says that he would never shoot at a bear without any reason, but one of his companions did, and the bear was shot dead. The animal lay on the ground, but a part of its furry black body moved. It was a baby bear that had been lying on the mother bear's back. Now that the mother bear was dead, the baby got up and ran around the mother's body, crying. The narrator tried to catch the baby bear. The bear escaped into the sugarcane field. The group chased it, and finally, the narrator caught hold of it from the back of its neck. The bear tried to scratch them with its hook-shaped claws. The group stuffed the bear in a gunny bag and took it to Bengaluru. The narrator gifted the bear cub to his wife. She was happy to have it, tied a colored ribbon around its neck. As it was a male cub, she named it Bruno. As the days passed, Bruno grew bigger and outgrew the Alsatian dogs. Still, it was sweet, naughty, and playful like before. He was fond of everyone. The narrator's wife was very attached to Bruno and vice versa. She changed his name to Baba, which means a small boy in Hindustani language. Baba did some tricks. When he was ordered Baba wrestle or Baba box, he would wrestle the person and overpower him. When commanded Baba hold gun, he would point a stick at the person as if ready to shoot him. When asked Baba, where is baby? He would take out a piece of wood and cradle it affectionately like a baby. He had hidden the piece of wood under the straw bed. As he had grown big, he was chained because he could be a threat to the tenant's children. The narrator and his son advised to send Baba to the zoo. When his wife was advised so by the friends too, she agreed, and a letter was written to the zoo in charge to inquire if he would like to keep a bear at the zoo. He affirmed, and then Baba was sent to Mysore Zoo, packed in a cage kept on a lorry. He traveled a distance of 87 miles to reach the zoo. Although everyone missed Baba, but they were relaxed too. The narrator's wife was disturbed. She wept and worried about Baba's well being. Initially, she did not eat or drink. She wrote a letter to the zoo in charge to inquire about Baba. He replied that Baba was also undergoing a similar situation like her. She would ask her friends visiting Mysore to visit Baba and check out on him. Everyone gave a similar report that Baba was fine but appeared thin and sad. The staff at the zoo said that he seemed worried. The narrator restrained his wife from visiting the zoo for 3 months. One day, she said that she wanted to see Baba, and if he would not take her, then she would go herself by train or bus. Finally, they went to see Baba at the zoo. Their friends had predicted that Baba would not recognize her, and the narrator had thought so too. But to his amazement, she was a few steps away from the cage when Baba saw her and recognized her. He screamed with happiness. She ran up to him, patted him, and Baba was very happy to have her back. She remained there for 3 hours. She fed Baba different things, which were his favorites. As the zoo had to close, they had to leave. The narrator's wife did not want to leave Baba, and both of them cried bitterly. Even the zoo in charge was sad. The narrator was fine because he knew that the next step would be to take Baba back along to Bengaluru. The wife requested the in charge that she wanted to take Baba back. He replied that the bear was government property and that she needed permission from the superintendent in Bengaluru. They returned to Bengaluru and visited the superintendent at his bungalow. She cried and requested that both of them had been worrying for each other. She requested to have Baba back. The superintendent was a kind hearted man and he accepted her request. He wrote to the zoo in charge to arrange a cage for transporting Baba to Bengaluru. They went to Mysore with the superintendent's letter. Baba was put in a cage and the cage was kept on the top of the car. It was tied securely and they returned to Bengaluru. At their home in Bengaluru, a team of workers was employed to execute some work in the backyard. As Baba was a full grown bear, he had to be kept isolated. So, an island which was 20 feet long and 15 feet wide was built. It was surrounded by a dry pit which was 6 feet wide and 7 feet deep. It was made like this because the bear would not be able to cross the pit over to areas that were inhabited by people as it could be a threat to them. Things which were used by Baba, had been kept secularly. These were kept on the island. They were a wooden box which was previously used to keep crocs and hens and would now be used by Baba to sleep in at night. Straw was kept in the box to keep him warm. The piece of wood which Baba cradled like a baby, the stick that he used to point a gun, were also placed on the island so that he could play with them. When the place was ready, the workers placed the cage on the island and Baba was removed from it. He was happy to be free, stood on his back legs, pointed the stick, and cradled the piece of wood. The narrator's wife spent many hours with him as he lay in her lap, although he was 15 months old and was quite heavy in weight. The narrator's wife visits Baba frequently, and the way in which she reaches and leaves the island is interesting. They have a rope tied to a mango tree with a loop at one end. She would place one foot in the loop and kick off with the other. This way, she would fly in the air to cover the 6 foot long distance to reach the island. She would make the return trip in a similar way. On seeing the affection shared by Baba and the narrator's wife, we can conclude that animals have emotions. They remember people, and all of them have individual qualities just like human beings have. So that's all about the chapter The Bond of Love by Kenneth Anderson. Now we can just have a look at the summary of this chapter. In the story, the narrator highlights the emotional bond shared by his wife and their pet bear, Bruno. He got the baby bear in an accident and presented it to his wife. She named the bear Bruno and treated it like a baby. The bear was fed milk with a bottle and later it started eating different food items. He enjoyed eating and drinking everything and anything. Bruno was attached to everyone, including the tenants' children and their pet Alsatian dogs. It would play, run around the house, and even sleep in their bed. One day, accidentally, it ate a poison which had been kept in the library to kill mice and rats. Bruno was under a fit of paralysis and was taken to a veterinary doctor. He was injected twice and finally revived. After a while, Bruno resumed eating normally. In another incident, he drank a gallon of old engine oil, which the narrator had kept to fight a termite attack. This did not have any ill effect to Bruno. As days passed, Bruno grew bigger but remained as sweet and playful. The narrator's wife changed his name to Baba, which was a Hindustani word for a small boy. He had learned a few tricks too. When commanded Baba wrestle or Baba box, he would tackle and overcome the person. When ordered Baba hold gun, he would point a stick at the person. When asked, Baba, where is baby? He would take out the piece of wood and would cradle it affectionately like a baby. As he was big now, he had to be chained because he would harm the tenant's children. The narrator his son, and their friends advised the narrator's wife to send Baba to a zoo as he was too big to be kept as a pet. She gave in, and finally, after taking consent from the zoo in charge, they packed Baba in a cage and sent him to the zoo at Mysore. Everyone missed him but felt relieved as it was not comfortable to keep him at home. The narrator's wife missed Baba immensely. She cried and worried about him. She wrote letters to the zoo in charge to ask about Baba's well being. They replied that Baba was fine but did not eat and remained sad, much like her. She would ask her friends visiting Mysore to visit Baba. Everyone said that he was sad and appeared thin. After 3 months had passed, the narrator's wife convinced him to take her to meet Baba. Everyone had predicted that the bear would not recognize her, but she had not even reached the cage when Baba recognized her. He stood on his two paws and was delighted to see her. She petted Baba and fed him his favorite food. She spent 3 hours there until the visiting hours ended and left teary eyed. She requested the zoo in charge to allow them to take Baba back, for which they had to take permission from the superintendent in Bangalore. As they got the required permission, Baba was put in a cage. The cage kept on top of their car, and Baba was brought back home. They got a special island made for Baba to live on it. It was surrounded by a deep, dry pit. Baba was provided with his belongings: a box to sleep in, straw to keep him warm, his stick, and piece of wood to play with. The narrator's wife would visit Baba on the island by swinging on a rope tied to a mango tree. She would make the big bear sit in her lap for hours and would pet him affectionately. That's all about the chapter The Bond of Love by Kenneth Anderson. Hope you understood the chapter very well. Thank you and have a nice day.